Freedom is the pure idea.
Hello and welcome to Daughters of Ferrix, the Star Wars show that will not accept a win, even if it's handed directly to us. I'm your host, Eleanor Mueller, and with me is my co-host, Sophia Dunstan.
Hello.
Sophie, if you were going to pitch a much too serious political-ass Star Wars show, what would it be about?
Capitol interns at the Senate. I did think that all of these scenes of them sprinting around the Senate building were quite fun and also quite reminiscent of some of my own experience.
Much too familiar.
I would like that to be a whole thing.
You and Erskine, except you're not paid by... Is Erskine paid? Does Luthen pay people?
I feel like Luthen pays people.
He supports their livelihood, certainly.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough. Sorry, that really threw me for a moment.
People are unionizing at Luthen Incorporated for better insurgent conditions.
That's what happened in between this episode and last. Okay, I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going.
Literally.
The only thing I want to pitch is a thank you to Michael Katz, Jordy, Lickjar Mellows, Juniper Fox, Caleb McMurtry, Alex Logan, Marcy, Rose, Sark, Nobody in Particular, Get Glupped, and an extra special thanks, can't believe I have to say this on the show, to GirlFag22.
Many such cases.
Ellie, would you like to read off the name of the tier that this person has signed up to?
They have signed up to our offensively high chaser tier.
Jesus.
Thank you. I have to say that at the end of every episode now.
Oh, God.
All of you are the carefully wired cortex swap that suppress this show's worst impulses. If you're interested in early access to the show, episode outtake videos, the Daughters of Ferrix Discord server, and our bonus episodes when they happen, check us out at patreon.com/Daughters of Ferrix. Also, reminder, Andor on the BDS list, Disney bad, no legal way to watch Andor, pointed stare. Okay, Andor block 3. 3 times the Andor, 3 times the milk. So we are joined by another guest. They got their start doing OSINT around the 2020 uprisings, that's open source intelligence, research around the online right wing and neo-Nazis. You might know them from their reporting on the show It Could Happen Here, or their posts over on Shatterzone. It's Gare Davis. Hi, Gare.
Hello. Hi.
I'm so very glad to have you here to discuss, in your words, your favorite abusive relationship.
Abusive relationship, yeah. I just keep coming back, even though I know I shouldn't.
I realized at the end of Andor last week that about every 2 to 3 years, I have some kind of depressive episode caused by something Star Wars, and I was really worried that this Andor would be like my 2025.
Oh, yeah, no. The last time I allowed myself to get hurt by Star Wars was the Mandalorian Season 2 finale. And that hurt me so bad, I basically had to, back off. And now we're basically just, friends with benefits sometimes. I definitely don't have the emotional investment I used to.
Yeah, I mean, at least you're on the Star Wars show that isn't as much about it.
But no, so much of my brain, especially my younger years, was about filling up Star Wars knowledge. So it's something I can rarely use or flex. But it is buried in there.
We're gonna dig it out with a scalpel. Okay. Full spoilers for Andor Season 2, Episodes 7 through 9. I forgot to say that last time. I don't know if it matters, but we're doing it on principle. It's another year later. More Star Wars, and at this point, I guess Cassian is on Yavin. This is Masasi unit, this is Gold Squadron, Jan Dodonna is here, separate from Luthen's spy network, I guess, and separate from Bail, who is mostly just doing Phoenix Squadron at this point, I think. Anyway.
He's gotta be, yeah.
I was so surprised to see Cassian specifically already on Yavin
Me too.
That I had to go, who is where, who is connected to who, and even still I'm a little bit internal rebel politics with the stuff with Mon at the end of this arc was, they got me thinking.
Yeah, no, I think this is the earliest we've ever seen Yavin.
Masashi unit is like around in Rebels, but
We don't go to Yavin until after Mon gets there in Rebels.
well, and technically the earliest we would have seen Yavin is when those fuck-ass guys were there in at the beginning of the season. So
Yes. We love sectarian infighting.
they are there on Yavin. Bix and Cass live in a little hut for some reason.
I would not describe it as a hut. I would call it like a nice sort of like forest bungalow.
It's a good hut.
It's a very good hut.
Hut is not derogatory.
There would not be enough room in a hut. Those things are what, like 8 feet long at most? You could crawl in briefly.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry,
Jesus
guys.
fucking
I really
Christ.
didn't want to do that. I apologize.
So Willman, for the record, also lives there. There's like another hammock.
Wilmot like stays there in between like Luthen and like Saw missions, it looks like.
Yeah, but he's got a bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he lives there as much as Andor lived at the place on Mina Rao.
Totally.
Will shows up, and it's clearly like a reunion for him, Bix, and Cassian. It's really nice to see that Willman got away from Saw, because I think a lot of people were spelling Will's doom. But instead, I mean, Willman is kind of where Cassian was a little bit, where he is really in it with Luthen, and Cassian has retreated away from Luthen towards both like Bix and this group at Yavin. Willman is all coy about where he's been. Cassian has this blaster wound that hasn't healed, and he's feeling weird about Luthen. Luthen wants to know when Cassian can come back to work, and Cassian has better work-life balance than that. But eventually it comes out that Willman has been on Ghorman, the place.
Because he has a girlfriend. Ooh.
Well, and also because it's his job, a little bit of both, Yeah, Will is over the girl from 2 years ago, which is pretty reasonable.
Good for him.
I like the way this show is demonstrating how long apart these things are. There are ways in which those giant time jumps, I think, are kind of the show's, or at least this season's, weakness. But it's cool to feel the characters like settled into their lives in a completely different way.
Yeah, you can turn a weakness into like an asset with a good writing team, and I think they're trying as hard as they can to do that.
The goal on Yavin is to do something completely different, completely, but very different from what Luthen was doing, where Luthen was supplying guys and supplying spies. What Yavin is doing is like this attempt at creating an army. That's what Will says. Like, this is like an organized military force.
It's like they're growing a rebel army before there's like a full alliance.
Right.
Which is interesting. Like it's more just like kind of like groups of like partisans and militants who are now using a shared base, but like the formal alliance is like yet to be set up. It's like right around the corner though, but it is more of like a military operation without like the political aspect of it yet.
That makes a lot of sense for kind of where they're at, because that has to come from somewhere when the alliance itself is instituted. Those military groups didn't just spring out of the ground, unless they're like Mimbanese. Over on Ghorman, things are actually bad on Ghorman now. Before they were kind of like, okay, they could be bad. And now officers in the town square occupying that territory. There are checkpoints. There's has been a curfew that is now being reinstated. There's this like overarching thing throughout all of these episodes that I am really quite fond of, where you immediately see the presence of like Imperial news media in Palmo Square.
The continued and inexplicable Ghorman resistance to Imperial norms. Terrorism strikes again in Ghorman just 3 weeks after events in Corray and Gelnovi. There was a firebombing last night at the naval terminal in Palmo. You can see behind me vapor and thermal smoke still rising from the site.
It's really clear that there are these talking points that they use, that there is this inexplicable resistance to Imperial norms from the Ghormans.
Outside agitators.
Outside agitators, yes, that's a real important one. Kind of like we did last arc, Cyril is our point of view for going through this square and showing us how very different it is, even a year later. Dedra gets the call that day. Basically, word is in from Edu. Synthetic calcite, or whatever the hell they were trying to do, is a no-go, and the substrate material on Ghorman, or under Ghorman's surface, is what they have to go with for the energy project. And bad news, Ghorman.
Bad news, Ghorman.
Very bad news, Ghorman.
The story on Imperial News is that there is a hit on an Imperial. It's the naval. It's not the naval depot. It's something else. It's a naval facility. And I want to ask the two of you, do you think that this is a thing that happened or not? because later on in the episode, the senator from Ghorman, Senator Oran, seems to think it didn't, or it is a lie, or, it's a fabricated story somehow. And I started to think that maybe it was Willman, so...
Oh, no, it definitely happened. I mean, like, the Ghorman senator is in complete denial about the actual state of, like, legitimate resistance. It certainly has been fed by ISB and, like, built up. But no, there is, like, genuine participation from Ghormans. And I think this thing, like, definitely, like, happened. They're obviously getting more and more, like brash and extreme in what kind of operations they're doing, and quote-unquote, like, terrorist attacks.
Right? This isn't a civilian target. It's, like, a purely military one.
I kind of also think it happened. It could have been like, not to be like my dad here, but a false flag thing, like where the Empire did it to themselves.
Things are genuinely escalating on Ghorman. For the Ghorman front, again, a year later, there are some new faces. Lazine is down there, my guy Lazine. That fucking bellhop from last arc, which is great because I really enjoyed him, and it made me look up his name. It's like Thela or something. Kara Rylance is, I assume to some degree still in charge, but there's this sense that like some of the balance of power has gone to his daughter, Enza. He's talking a big game about maintaining their dignity, non-violent resistance, and they're like, hey, these guys want to kill us. That's bad. The fact of the matter is that there are no good options for the Gore at this point. Any possibility of good option has been taken away from them. The Imperials want them to give them an excuse to kill the Gore. And also, if they fight back too hard, they might lose whatever type of like public dissent might happen if they are killed, right? It's this miserable sort of problem that there are no good answers to. Back on Yavin, Cassian, he's getting a side quest, well, a main quest from Willman. Willman is telling him, hey, if you're ready to go back to work, there's this lady, ISB supervisor Dedra Miro, main character, and this is the best chance to kill her.
Oh, ISB supervisor Dedra Miro. She destroyed Ferrix.
Luthen wants you to go and kill her, which I really like Dedra. I really like watching Dedra. That would be really something if Cassian managed to take her out.
Would love to see it.
For the people at that table, it's Bix, Willman, and Cassian. Cassian is the least affected by Dedra.
Yeah.
Because Willman's dad was killed by Dedra, which he well knows, and Bix was personally interrogated by Miro. Like, there's this, like, weight that you can see fall upon her when she's like, oh, Cassian could be out there killing this lady. Like, that would be huge to her.
And he brings this like weird ass sniper rifle that is like the least concealed anything has ever been.
We'll get there. He's got a space gun, but he gets this mission and he's kind of unsure about whether or not he's going to go. He gives Willman the runaround kind of, and he'll get there. Meanwhile, the Empire's starting to instate martial law on Ghorman. Sorry, they're set to declare a martial domain. I think. I don't know if they actually have at this point.
They're getting ready for it because now they know they have to do like the deep mining.
Gouge mining, which is a very evocative term.
So they're like prepping for a resistance to that and getting all of their final dominoes in place.
Dedra is given a crisis specialist in this guy, Captain Kaido, who comes with him a bunch of greeny troops.
Well, and normally, a crisis specialist, right, is there to sort of diffuse a crisis, but this particular crisis specialist seems like he is there to do the opposite thing.
He's there to do something to the crisis.
Provocation, even.
And meanwhile, Cyril still around, is kind of being shut out of all of this because now the Imperial operation is not just find out the deal on Ghorman, do whatever op on Ghorman. Now the thing is, we are going to do the horrible mining operation that Cyril wasn't allowed to know about before. So Cyril does not get any information, and he's starting to be able to tell.
They don't have a use for him anymore.
Yeah, no, he's just some functionary, which he was before, but he got to play spy a little bit, and he liked that.
The best day of his life.
Even though bro is stuck at the Bureau of Standards now, he still very much like wants to be corporate security again. Like that was his ideal moment.
He wants to be a Fed. That's what he really wants.
He does. And
now he's been able to cosplay as a Fed for like a year with his girlfriend in charge. And now they don't need him anymore because the resistance is like built up enough that it's like self-sustaining. He has no purpose.
But he can't be a real Fed because
Because he sucks.
he's a rule of law motherfucker.
Because he's a loser.
He's like this loser true believer guy. We'll get there. He is a loser. He is the biggest loser. So Yavin at this point it's really settled into. There's string lights. People are hanging out at tables at nighttime. And Bix and Cassian visit while Cassian is kind of mulling over this Ghorman mission. And they come across this like force healer lady. Bix is bisexual and believes in astrology, and Cassian is not and does not.
It's fake. It's made up. It's fake. No, Cassian is fulfilling the great role of the skeptical boyfriend who's like, oh, come on.
He's like, oh, if you wanted to do this, you could have just asked. And she's like, you would have said no.
Just keep me away from this woo-woo bullshit is what Cassian's like, and I support him in that.
I'm a serious militant. I don't have time for your force nonsense.
Maybe Cassian would be more into it if he were willing to buy in some of the cult shit, you know?
Which force cult would Cassian be in?
None of them.
None of them.
But no, I mean, you have the like really soft, like extremely gentle, not actually cultic, like force belief that permeates this rebel cell. And, you know, maybe Cassian would have a better time.
I mean, I really like this scene. Like it builds up like Cassian's behavior in Rogue One with the Guardians of the Will.
I'm beginning to think the Force and I have different priorities. Relax, Captain. We've been in worse cages than this one. This is a first for me.
It has a bit of that, but like, yeah, like the way it builds up the Force as like a part of everyday rebel life is really interesting. Like beyond the Jedi, the idea that you have like a Force healer who's like this, yeah, like vaguely like spiritual, like it taps in like with like fate and destiny, and her experience with Cassian, I think is like really well done, and it demonstrates like the reality of the Force for like day-to-day people who are not like members of a Force cult. It shows that the Force is still like a presence in people's regular lives. That makes the rebel greeting and like of May the Force be with you much more interesting. It's like, yeah, that is something that like the people like just say in the rebellion. Like, why is that? Like, what role does the Force play? Like, the rebellion isn't like a Jedi-led institution, really ever, and especially at this point. Like, there's you have like Phoenix Squadron, but like it's not run by Jedi. They're not trying to like bring back the Jedi. So like, what role does the Force have? And it's interactions like this.
Right, it's this quasi-mystic thing.
Yeah, and it makes people believe that like maybe we have like a destiny, maybe we have a fate at play here. It makes people like greeting each other and saying goodbye as you like go into like war and sometimes like certain death. It makes them saying like May the Force be with you, like an interesting display of hope and destiny.
The Force is really this thing that is outside of these soldiers. And that is even the case for this Force healer who's like, I don't know this. Like, this is just a thing that I interact with. I don't understand it. She goes and she kind of checks on Cassian's shoulder. She sees him from like across the grounds and is drawn to him.
She can feel that he's like special and he's like necessary. Which is how the Force works. That is literally like it's the whole idea of like the wills is like the Force is this like conscious being that like shapes the story of this galaxy.
She can feel that he is a main character in Star Wars Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Exactly. Which is like how George wants the Force to work, and it's like kind of silly, but for some reason I like it and I can't tell why.
Well, it's that really kind of bullshit thing that George does with the Force, where he's like, I don't know, I just made it kind of vaguely spiritual in a bunch of different ways. I do think it appeals to something within, like, I don't talk about it a lot on the show, but that's why I like all the Jedi bullshit, is that it fills me, you know, it's evocative, I guess.
Some people take too much of like a historical materialist outlook on Star Wars, where they only think about like the military strategy and the politics and the tactics, and that type of stuff is very cool, and it's a part of Star Wars, a core part, absolutely, ever since Star Wars 1977. But I think the spiritual side of Star Wars is similarly also a core part, and to totally discount the role that plays in like what this universe is doing and the stories they're telling and like the political journeys they're taking, I think is a mistake. So the spirituality has been so distant from all of Andor up to this point, and I really liked the way that they like included it here and like gave it this connection to this political insurgent like movement.
George Lucas believes in great man theory, so the Force also believes in great man theory, and the Force therefore chooses some guy.
Tastefully done chosen one trope. No, there is this Force healer gets this impression that Cassian is important, and that kind of freaks her out. That kind of freaks him out.
It freaks everyone out. Bix, the Force healer, Cassian gets like freaked out that his shoulder like feels slightly better afterwards too. It's really cool.
Bix goes back to Cassian to check on him, and she's like, no, I get where this lady is coming from. I also feel like you have something to offer. I feel like you are important, and you're scared of that. Cassian still hates responsibility.
Yeah, no, that is a big thing he deals with this arc.
He's been in it for like 2 whole years, 3 whole years, and he's already ready to quit.
It's weighing on him, like the same way it was weighing on Bix in the last arc that she eventually was able to like work through. It's similarly like weighing on Cassian.
I don't know, I think it really speaks to who Cassian is as a person, right? He went to prison as a teenager because he attacked a group of clones after his dad was lynched. And then like a few years later, he's like, not a few years later, like a decade later, he's telling his mom, like, no, why do you want to rebel against these people? I want to go live on a beach. Like he has to tame whatever that is inside of him.
That is one of the biggest struggles of this show is like, how much of a life can you live while fighting in an insurgency? Like, can you have a regular life? Is there a way to separate out this insurgent work-life balance? And that's such a struggle for everyone, both this season and last season. And I think this season like adds on like a lot of like relationship complications. Where like how can you like be in a relationship? How can you like find love when people around you are like dying and you have to feel committed to a cause more than like a single person? It's super hard. And the show like grapples with that, like sometimes like more successfully than others. But it is something that they are definitely like choosing to grapple with.
You mentioned kind of building a life within this thing, and it's more of a filmmaking thing that I have loved about this show so far, this season so far, I should say, is that every arc has shown what Cassian and Bix's home looks like.
Yeah.
This is where they live in Arc 1, this is where they live in Arc 2, this is where they live in Arc 2. I assume Arc 4 is just gonna have Cassian in some, like, fucking...
It's like a bunker.
Yeah, it's gonna be the, like, barracks in Yavin, surely.
The Imperial, yeah.
He's gonna have moved because he got too sad about his bungalow.
Divorced Cassian arc. Oh my, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Divorced Cassian arc finding solace in his new best pal.
That's right.
Like a bachelor pad, yeah.
You gotta bro down sometimes.
So it's the next morning. Cassian has decided that he's gonna go on this Ghorman thing with Will. Fucking Draven, that bald bastard, is back, balding, I guess. And there's the U-wing. Cassian's getting into a U-wing. That's cute. I love that Draven's back in the show.
I did soy jack. I pointed at the screen. I did it.
Some people want characters in a Star Wars when it's like appropriate for the timeline or whatever. No, I like getting someone like David's Draven in because I really like, it's Alistair something. What's his actor's name?
Alistair something.
Yeah, that's his, Alistair something, that's his name. I just think he's a good actor, and I really liked him in Sex Education, and I like that they brought him back. I like that I got to be able to look at my girlfriend and say, hey, it's that guy from Sex Education.
I am so mad that there's no ugly CGI live action Zeb in the last episode. I can't believe the writers would do this.
There's still time.
No, absolutely not.
Phoenix Cell is not on...
No, fuck off.
Yavin yet.
Absolutely not. We cannot have Steve Blum doing a bad accent in season 2 of Andor. Save that for the Mandalorian movie. I love you, Steve Blum. You are a great voice actor, actually.
No, my thing was CGI de-aged fucking Ezra.
God, that would be so rad.
Draven does the thing that he does best, which is be kind of an asshole. He's telling Cassian, you can't come and go as you like. You have to like actually tell us where you're going when you take our... I assume their ship, right? It is their U-wing.
Definitely. It's definitely definitely like an army U-wing.
It's this little thing, but Draven's rank patch, it's a patch on his jacket. It's not like a badge.
Not yet.
It is like a fabric patch. I think it's one of those, they aren't quite established into what they will be. It's very nice. And it is basically, Draven is like, either you're in or you're out. You have to act like it. Now, Cassian's off to do a mission where he's in, but not their mission, so
not in with like their like army, in with like Luthen's like intelligence sector. which is like a whole other side.
Well, and Draven specifically is Alliance intelligence. That's his job. He's his like case officer. He's Cassian's case officer later on.
We'll see how that like develops, right? Because I think so much of like the Luthen Axis network, I think, is what results in like rebel intelligence.
Almost certainly.
And I don't think they had that like division like sectioned out yet. Eventually they're gonna realize, no, like Cassian's not like a regular soldier. He needs to be like in like a special like unit or have like a special job. And like Cassian runs so much of like the on the ground like rebel intelligence operations, and I think that's what we'll probably see in the next arc, or at least that's like where they get to in Rogue One.
So Cassian goes off. Bix is left behind, clearly thinking about some things, and Vel goes to see Bix. Vel is on Yavin right now. It seems like she's been kind of working out of this location for a while, but now she's saying that she's like here to stay for a bit. She's doing intake with new recruits, which I am frankly delighted by.
She's a drill sergeant.
She's a drill sergeant. She's also, I really like that Vel and Bix are friends. This is the first time they've interacted in the show, and it's very sweet. She says she kind of needed a break from the smuggling work she was doing before. She specifically says that they are not Luthen's puppets anymore. There's this thing from Vel and Cassian and Bix, not Willman, but that they have all kind of outgrown Luthen.
Like the rebellion itself is starting to outgrow Luthen.
Right, which, I mean, if Luthen is at all even-headed about this, he should be happy about.
Yeah.
One, that's a huge relief. And two, like, that's the best thing you could hope for. Organize yourself out of a job.
It does seem like he's happy about it, like, because he is actively trying to get Mon Mothma to the rebellion.
Yeah, no, Luthen does seem kind of okay in this episode.
Like, he's not, like, mad.
At least less miserable to be around. There is this kind of thing where Vel is going to Bix because Dodonna and Draven are basically, again, they're wanting Cassian to commit. They want to know that they can rely on him. Vel says that they were going to promote him like a bunch of different times, and then Cassian goes off and does Cassian stuff. There's this kind of thing where it feels like Bix is Cassian's babysitter that I don't love. At the same time, you start to see like the way that what Cassian does specifically is weighing on her, which I think is important for later on. Over on Ghorman, you have this guy Kaido who is bringing not just soldiers, but rookie soldiers, these children who can barely do their drills. You know, their sergeant, this guy named Bloy, he knows this. He's like, you can't rely on these kids to do anything. They are literal children. They are approximately 12 years old.
Get these men shaped up and ready for presentation.
There's not a man amongst them, sir, but I'll do what I can.
Am I going to have a problem with you?
Kaido does not give a shit. Frankly, it's by design. One, if things go bad, they want these guys to freak the hell out and act as violently as possible. And two, you know, later on, if these guys die, they become like baby-faced martyrs for the Imperial project.
We'll talk more about this little battalion of riot cops next episode, probably. But no, I do love specifically how the riot cop commanders always get to wear the little black capes, like at the end of the Ferrix arc. And this guy also has a little black cape, but it's very good.
It's a good looking cape too. I feel like it's much less loud than Krennic's cape. Like Krennic's cape is a little too much.
Yeah, well, because Krennic's more gay.
But not tasteful. He's not one of the good ones. You know, he's not tasteful about it. Like Prefect Tigo on Ferrix.
No.
So Cass and Willman fly in on their Ewing to fucking Ghorman. Right before curfew hits, they separate. Willman is going to go meet up with the Ghorman front. Cassian is going to see if he can kill Dedra. And Cassian stays at the same hotel that he did last arc. He has this really nice interaction with the bellhop kid. The bellhop has now been promoted to desk guy, and desk guy like recognizes Cassian. Cassian's false name is Ronnie Guja.
Guja.
Genuinely, Cassian's worst fake name so far. Keith Gergo is a masterclass compared. Ronnie Guja.
The most Klepshido name in the history of Star Wars.
We love it.
It's so good. I love all of Cassian's stupid fake names. And this guy sees through it, and Cassian doesn't have, he's press. He's supposedly Ronnie Guja, mid-rim network, mid-rim news or whatever. He's like, you don't have like your intake stamp on your whatever form. It's this very subtle thing that the bellhop isn't acknowledged till next morning, but the bellhop never logs Cassian in because he doesn't want there to be record of Cassian being there, because he's like, hey, we're doing the same things, even though they're not in the same.
I have friends everywhere.
Exactly. Instead of, I have friends and I have to know exactly who they are first. No, it is recognizing, hey, you are doing the same work that I am. I think that is valuable, and I am taking care of you because of that, because we're on the same side. I don't know, something about that really gets me.
What I like so much about this is that this interaction is built off of the one that Andor had with this like hotel porter in the last arc. He talks with him in the room, and he gets him to talk about like his experience at the Tarkin massacre, and like they discuss like the political situation. And like at that point, it's not clear that Cassian's like an undercover like rebel agent. But now at like the desk, this hotel staff is able to like put it together. Like, oh, like you're like here for like a different reason. The fact that Andor, Cassian, like had this interaction with this guy last arc, I think demonstrates how he's a different operator than like Val and Cinta, who like would not do this sort of thing. They're not like talking with like the regular locals, versus like Cassian wants to talk with like the regular people who like actually like run the city, who like do like small jobs and like actually learn about like the culture and the people there. That doesn't pay off for Cassian during his first trip to Ghorman, which goes kind of badly, but it does pay off now. And that's something that like shows like that Cassian like operates differently than other people. This small thing that he did like a year ago now really pays off for him because he's not getting reported to the ISB. I do like that little difference between him and like Luthen's other operatives.
Well, and that feels like something that he gets from where he's from, right? That like Cassian is at best like this really personable, community-focused guy, and at worst kind of like a schmoozer. Everyone in town knows him, sometimes for bad reasons.
No love for Nazi.
No, I'm late, okay?
Oh, I know. I want my deposit back.
I wish I could, but it's in play. Just waiting to hear they're on site, okay?
He does that as a spy, which you're very right, is very different, and I think really quite valuable. The closing scene for the episode is Cassian he scopes out where Dedra's supposed to be. He sees that there are stormtroopers on the roof. Like, it is very much like these guys are everywhere.
It was kind of a feature of the first episode that we see on Ghorman is just like the sort of omnipresence of Imperial like military personnel. They're just all over the place. Like everywhere you look, oh, there's an Imperial guy. There's an Imperial guy. There's a white uniform. There's a black uniform.
Yeah, it used to be actual people, right? And then you see this like the juxtaposition is kind of the militarization of Ghorman, or we see the militarized Ghorman and what the Empire has kind of done to it, right? They don't have to already be mining all of Ghorman's natural resources. This is already a very bad thing. It is bad to have military presence or even quasi-military presence in the streets, in your town square, near the memorial of the last time they did this shit. So episode 2, we're delineating episodes, I guess. Episode 2 opens up with the next morning. This is really like a 3-day sort of thing. This entire episode feels like it is almost happening in real time, right? It doesn't take you away from Ghorman. It doesn't cut away to whatever subplot or whatever. No matter how much you might want to leave this,
You're trapped there.
yes, you are narratively trapped there.
Yeah.
Cassian's got his rifle. The Empire is barricading the square. They're moving the barricades that close off this square, right? There's like fencing now around the monument. They're moving all of this to instead fortress off the like Imperial facility there. They're those like plastic barricades that you fill with like sand or water. They're black, they're not like orange or whatever, but it's the same sort of thing.
Well, and these ones are clearly made of metal.
I thought they seemed plastic.
No, because the droid throws it and it like crushes a guy.
I mean, those things, when they're filled up, they can be super heavy.
Right, because you don't want people moving them.
But also, I mean, a lot of the Imperial like metal stuff has that plasticky like look to it.
Right, it's a little bit of both. Plastoid.
Coated in plastoid.
Don't get me started. People have been on my ass.
They're basically like barricading like the Imperial building as they learn like mining is like accelerating. There's mining ships landing. So now they're like preparing for some kind of confrontation as rumors of this spread throughout Palamo.
Rumors. Notably, this thing that has happened that is almost certainly corroborated by anyone in the countryside.
Just rumors. Just rumors.
It's just a rumor. All of the Ghorman intelligence, everything that is coming from actual Gore people on the ground, is shrugged off by the Imperial media establishment, by the people on site as rumors. Cyril does this. Everyone does this. It is horrible. I don't like it.
Space Fox News is working overtime on the streets of Ghorman.
Oh my God, are they? Like, it's all throughout these episodes where these obnoxious, like, Imperial reporters are like, oh my God, the Ghorman rebels are so rebellious and they're so bad and they're so illogical for resisting the Imperial program. Like, come on, get with the program, guys. Like, I'm just gonna talk to my stupid floating robot camera.
And all of this is kind of going over to Coruscant. Previous episode had essentially this like live news thing going as Mon enters the Senate building and the increasing militarization of the Senate as well. Metal detectors and shit. I don't know. Anyone who is working in those buildings has to hear that as they go through the square every single morning.
But no, like one of the quotes from like the reporters is like, quote, "The only story now is Ghorman aggression."
The only story that matters is Ghorman aggression. The threats. The inexplicable resistance to Imperial norm.
I like that line.
Yeah, that is what they say. Edie Karn is listening all the time to this shit. We see her twice in these episodes. She's just on the TV.
She is glued. She is glued. You know, representation's important, and I'm really glad that Tony Gilroy's brave enough to have a Fox News addicted Italian grandma. It's really good to be seen.
It's really cool to have Sophie's dad on the show. Thank you, Star Wars.
No, I immediately, it was clear that we were setting up some kind of like Ferrix 2 type situation. You got Cassian, you got Cyril, you got Dedra, you got Imperial military police.
You got Guy in Cape.
You have Guy in Cape. You have riot cops. The boys are back in town. Shit's about to go down. People are in the streets, and you can feel the knot in your stomach twisting.
Yeah, Brasso's not here, so how good can it be?
R.I.P. R.I.P. The Space Fox News are also spreading rumors that there's been calls for a general strike throughout Ghorman.
They're definitely, I mean, there's something. Everybody is getting in the streets. I don't know exactly what that is, but yeah, everyone's kind of coming in. The square is now open, so everyone is headed to the square. Great plan, guys. They have these like fake, like they're like vuvuzelas. These like handheld horn things, like I can't remember if they're plastic or they're metal, but yeah, these little handheld noisemaker.
Plastoid.
We don't know. It's not always plastoid, for the record. I bet I could spend like an hour and find you 5 times they use the word plastic in Star Wars.
I thought they were like air horns.
You're right, Sophie. There is something kind of air horny about them. But to me, something about the sound just kept saying vuvuzela. I wanted to see if there were any notable instances of people using vuvuzelas in protests. And I found one protest against like BP in 2010.
I mean, people love their noisemakers at protests.
Cyril is apparently called into work. Every Imperial employee is supposed to go over to the Imperial complex, probably so they don't get killed. And Cara Ryland starts to kind of have this fight with his daughter. He's like, hey, you can like make people stop doing this. He's clearly desperate. People are coming into the square in Palmo, and
like he realizes way too late like what this is actually all building to. What's really been happening on Ghorman the past year, and he like sees Cyril on his way to the Imperial building, and he like realizes like, wait a minute, you were like playing us this entire time. And he confronts Cyril. They have a little spat, but yeah, it's like way too late. Like this protest specifically is being set up as a trap, and then he calls, as no one listens, for the only path forward being silent resistance. And like that's not really the only path forward either. Like you are right that this is a trap, but at this point there is no alternative to this. Like this is what's gonna happen.
And that's beyond anyone to stop. When Cara Rylands is like confronting Cyril, he is essentially naming all of the lies, right? He's saying, I'm not going to believe this, and I'm not going to believe this thing. And these are all things that Cyril like fully believes. This is like Cyril's belief system. And Cara Rylands is like, I would have to be an idiot to believe those things. This is like the first time in these episodes that Cyril gets like violent. He throws Rylands up against a wall. He tosses him into the street because Cyril kind of can't confront what Rylands is telling him. It's this thing that is escalating more and more.
This whole episode was like very out of character for Cyril in a way, because he's always been like very rigid and restrained, and in this one it seems like his emotions are like actually driving him a good portion of the time instead of sort of whatever the hell else is going on in his head, and I thought that was really interesting.
You're right that he is like always really buttoned up. I mean, even just like his clothes, he is so tight and yeah, restrained. But he's also this like vindictive.
He's very emotion driven.
Yes.
Like his entire fuck up on Ferrex initially is because of his emotions. I think he relies on the like put together persona because he doesn't know how to sort through his own emotions. So he tries to like push them away, even though he's really just like driven like that. He is like essentially a man-child. He is a baby. He doesn't know what to do unless his like mom is helping him. And now he has this like abusive-esque girlfriend who is a very like motherly figure in some ways, because like she runs the entire house. I understand Cyril's point of view this episode. I think it's super interesting because yeah, we don't see him this way, and there's like you even like start questioning like is he gonna switch sides or not? And I think his emotions like betray him, even though his logic is telling him maybe he should join the other side. In the end, he can't like beat himself. And I'm really excited to talk about his like last interaction with Cassian. But yeah, no, I think he's certainly way more emotional than what he's like aware of and than what he might want to like let on to other people.
So the Ghorman front has weapons. They are all kind of getting guns, getting thermal detonators down in their base or whatever.
Getting Molotovs.
Space Molotovs!
Molotov cocktails. Sam from last arc, the guy who killed Cinta, he learned gun safety. Good job, Sam.
Took a year.
Learned the right lesson.
Keeps his finger off the trigger when he's not ready to shoot.
Huge news.
We're getting like a real proper riot setup, as opposed to like Ferrex, which was like a morning ritual that was like special and like almost like spiritually important, right? This is a French riot setup. You got signs, you got banners, you got fireworks, you got smoke, you got space Molotov cocktails, you got state-affiliated news, you got TIE fighters flying overhead, just like
fucking DC.
Well, yeah, and just like police use helicopters in Portland, the police have a spy drone that they fly overhead on protests. You get a lot of both like protest tactics displayed on screen here, as well as like state tactics. You have a quote from one of the news anchors.
Even though Imperial officials tried to desperately negotiate a peaceful demonstration, local insurgents spread rumors through the night and have organized this highly volatile insurrection you see behind me now.
Insurrection. They've already decided what this thing is.
Yeah, of course.
You know, meanwhile, the only guy who showed up armed on Ferrex was Willman with his basement pipe bomb.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any other kind of pipe bomb.
Not the only bomb being distributed this time around.
Even to the bellhop guy.
That's right.
So the protesters come in, they enter the square, and they kettle themselves.
Average
like, really,
average protest.
Garrison, for our listeners, can you tell them what kettling is? Can you tell them how not to get kettled?
Yeah, I mean, like they really walked themselves into this one where like they entered an area where they've been completely surrounded and all the exits have been closed off by like stormtroopers and riot police. Kettling it can happen either where you're like marching to a spot on like a protest march, or if you're just like on the way. A kettle is when the police like fully surround and enclose you, so you are trapped inside. You're like caught like in a kettle, right? There's no way out unless the police like let you, or unless you're able to break free of the kettle, which is usually extremely hard, and it can only be done if you take like casualties, like arrests or injuries. Yeah, kettling is a tactic to like stop the escape of a crowd, and you know you can get kettled if you like march to a spot and then you get surrounded at the place. You can also get kettled while you're like on the move as well. It's a very difficult thing to get out of, and it's one of those things where it should just be like avoided at all costs.
Especially if the cops want to fucking kill you specifically. Kind of as this is happening, there is this chant from when people start to take to the streets to this demonstration in this square, which is "We are the Gore, the galaxy is watching." What do we think of this as a protest cry?
I mean, it does remind me of many a protest chant where you decree that the whole world is watching when in fact the whole world is not watching most of the time. but you still say it. And I mean, this is what we get into in the next episode, like how much like suppression there is and like what really happened on Ghorman. But it is a belief people in crowds like want to hold. It's like an empowering thing, and yeah, very very common chant trope. At least the second half. The "We Are the Gore" thing is I think relates more to like whatever their like national anthem is, which they then sing.
Right. It's this direct like declaration of identity, which Lazine kind of cites down in the Ghorman Front HQ. He's like, it doesn't matter what we end up doing here, as long as we are still doing our like identity. That is the most important thing, because that is what they want to take from us. It's a part of this chant. It's a part of the Ghorman anthem, which Lazine starts everyone singing in the square, which is, I will say, Ghorman anthem is very focused on the like natural world, on the like actual place itself. A+ national anthem. Listen, I don't have a nationalist bone in my body, but get rid of Stars and Stripes or Star Spangled Banner, whatever the hell it's called. Do America the Beautiful. America the Beautiful. That is a better song. Do songs that talk about the nature of your place.
And people can actually sing it, importantly.
Good national anthem. Planetary anthem? I don't know. Last season, I can't remember if it was Gilroy or Nicholas Bertel who did the score, but they talked about there being like a really important moment with a song, or not a song, but like music being performed live on set. And, you know, you get to episode 6 of season 1, and there's the sort of chant from the Donnie, you know, gathering for the Eye, this big celestial event. And I was like, okay, it's that. That was really cool. And then there's a marching band like 6 episodes later.
Yeah.
And this is very much like, oh, they did another thing. They said that they were going to do a Ghorman national anthem. And I think it works. I think it works really well here.
Agreed.
I like diegetic music in general, but I like when it is kind of a source of, when it is like a community thing, when it is a thing that people are doing together. I think that is very grounded. I think that is how people, like, let me tell you, you say the galaxy is watching to keep up morale, you sing to keep up morale, right?
I think it's so much more powerful. Like, I think like it's so cool how like the anthem starts, because this guy like gets tired or like annoyed of everyone just chanting like the same thing, and he's like, this isn't actually like helping us anymore. And he instead does this to boost everyone's like actual like morale. I don't know. It's like the chant is more performative. It's more about like, you know, calling out like to the Empire, the whole galaxy like watching us, but it's not actually like strengthening like them. And instead, I think singing the anthem is more about actually like making the people gathered there feel connected to each other. It's more about solidarity. It's not about like the spectacle. It's not about the Empire. It is about like their own like solidarity with each other. And I think that's what makes it special.
And meanwhile, you know, main characters are doing stuff too. Cassian's at the edge of the crowd, kind of scoping out Dedra still, seeing where she is.
And there are like 10 different times in this episode when he could have shot that woman.
It's Galen Erso all over again.
And then he didn't.
The motherfucker just cannot kill someone when he has the chance.
We should talk about Cyril and Dedra's brief encounter, I guess, before we escalate.
Yes. So Cyril's being iced out. He's getting the sense that he doesn't know what's going on. There's mining equipment. No one told him about that. That's bad. And he goes up and he says to Dedra, he asks, what the hell are we doing here? What is the Empire doing here? What was I doing here in connecting you to the Ghorman Front? Like, what was the point of all of this? Because clearly it has not been communicated to him. He grabs Dedra. He chokes her to get this information out of her. It is
uncomfortable.
It's really quite terrible.
Yeah.
It was distressing. Yeah, very distressing.
There should less than episode 3, but there should have been a trigger warning on this episode too. Do better.
I mean, it is fascist on fascist violence, but because of its interpersonal aspects, it is like very uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, I'm not super bothered that Dedra Miro personally got choked. But I think maybe you trigger warning intimate partner violence even when I'm also rooting for Cassian to, you know, shoot her through the window.
Yeah, that this whole interaction is fascinating because like Dedra has kept trying to like wave the possibility of them having, you know, like a nice relationship and a nice life on Coruscant, to like settle down Cyril, to like not have to like ask questions about like what they're really doing here, what the purpose is. Dedra's like, no, it's fine. Like we'll be back on Coruscant. We'll be heroes. We'll be able to like be with each other as like tokens to like keep Cyril going. And he just doesn't have it anymore. And I think like some of what's driving Cyril here is like, despite being like a double agent, and this is something that happens in actual like FBI like infiltrations, like Ghorman is the first time Cyril's actually been part of a real community. Every other interaction he's had with people throughout his life, between like his mom, between like the Corpo police, the ISB, it's so like cold, and you're just a tool. Like you're never really seen as like a real person. It's the fascist like dehumanization of even people who participate in the fascist system. This is the first time he's actually had like genuine connections with people, even though, they're not fully genuine from his end. But the more time he spent with people, those connections still get built. And like this happens when like the FBI like infiltrates like activist organizations. It's something that people who do infiltrations have to be very cautious of. And Cyril just doesn't have the discipline for that. He actually, oddly enough, is connected to these people. And he's very confused and upset that they're getting like totally crushed by the Empire for what he sees as like no good reason. Like it doesn't make any sense to him, even though he's like pro-Empire. It just doesn't make sense. Even though he's like set this whole thing up like on purpose so that he could like rise through the ranks at ISB, so that his girlfriend would like love him and appreciate him. It's still causing him to like question. And the fact that he like abandons the Imperial headquarters and joins the crowd is like a significant move. Like he actually is conflicted in this moment. I don't know what he would have chosen to do if he survives this afternoon, but he's like really like seriously like thinking through things.
I don't know. Again, Cyril is this true believer. Dedra says they're doing whatever on Ghorman. Cool. That's what we're doing. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. This is what the Imperial law says. This is what the Ghorman law says. This was a problem for him back on Preox Morlana, where he was like, no, we have to go. Someone murdered these guys.
The guidelines.
Yes. His commanding officer is like, what? No, cover it up. This is stupid. They shouldn't have been doing that. It was a problem, et cetera, et cetera. We're just going to sweep it under the rug. And he goes insane about it and ruins his career because he cannot play, because Cyril is not a spy. Cyril's not a liar. Cyril is an evil fascist toady who believes in the law as written.
Yeah, like he has this weird sense of like justice. Even though he does like believe in the Imperial system, he has no way to chart his own like morality. So instead he's just married to this conception of like justice and like law and order. And to some extent that includes when the state operates outside of its own rules and laws. That like confuses him because he's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like that's the whole point, is that we follow this.
Right. The state is the law.
Yeah. And like that's what he really fails to like get over. And I think that's like in part like what he's like thinking about here as he like ends up joining the crowd. Like you even get tastes of this during like the protest on Ferrix. And then the thing that breaks him though is his personal obsession with Dedra. As soon as he realizes that like Dedra's there and Dedra's in trouble, that like overrides any like other ethical consideration over like, or like moral consideration of like how the Empire is like behaving in this environment. And then he, gets set up with Dedra, he gets closer to ISB, that like fulfills his like childish fantasies. But now he's like, again, like forced to like confront this odd feeling of like, does the Empire actually care about law and order the way that I think it does?
Well, and kind of where Dedra's at is really important too, where she hasn't liked what's been going down. Like this is her plan. She was like, we want the radical insurgency. We want the Ghorman people to give us an excuse to destroy them. This is her plan, and even still, she's kind of choking under the pressure or whatever is going on with her. But then Cyril confronts her, he chokes her, and when he stops manhandling her, there's like this fanatic like look on her face.
Yeah.
And she is explaining to him like, we'll be heroes. This is what was ordered.
And then we're going to go home.
Yeah, she says we're going to go home.
Yeah, he breaks up with her.
Yeah, he dumps her ass after abusing her.
Choking her out? Yeah.
That's crazy. Can't have nothing as a woman in the world.
Girl boss fascism takes a hit. Damn.
Can't have your weird subby boyfriend.
Can you have it all?
After years of emotionally abusing and manipulating your little weasel boyfriend.
She was mostly good to him, sort of. She was better than he deserved.
Both of them deserve a lot worse.
Absolutely.
So then they send out the weird little greeny troops to get sent out to sort of provoke things.
Riot cops are getting led as cannon fodder.
Patrol to the monument.
And their sergeant or whatever is not happy about it. He's like, dude, this is a dumb as fuck idea. These are like brand new guys. Like, they're just gonna like die or kill someone. And the guy's like, yes, that's the whole point. Yes.
I love that he fully knows. Like, he totally understands his crew's capabilities.
Like, as soon as this happened, I was like, oh, these are like sacrificial lambs. Like the whole point was for the crowd to start tearing these guys up. Like, very, very clearly.
Yeah.
I do like we get another very accurate protest moment where as soon as you get riot cops out there, bottles just start flying. People love throwing bottles at cops. It's people's favorite thing. Not even Molotovs at this point, just like, like bottles, usually full of water, sometimes piss, but they're getting pelted with bottles. Very good stuff that you can only portray if you have a degree of on the ground experience at protests, which some of the writing team does. Very good stuff.
So you have these people who are ordered out to clear the way to the monument for no reason except to stir up shit. And it's escalating a little bit. They're singing this national anthem. There's a guy who is with a flag climbed up on the monument, which I really love.
He must be from Philly. He's an immigrant to Ghorman.
Philadelphia to France transplant.
There is this moment where it is like, okay, are we going to escalate things further from the imps because they fully have things under control right now? And it is Dedra who makes the call. There is this tension between her and what is happening, right? It's escalating kind of beyond what she intended somehow, or she's getting cold feet or whatever. The crisis specialist tells her, let's not get confused about this. I'm doing whatever I'm doing. I'm the trigger and you're the finger. And it is Dedra who tells him to proceed. And he tells the guy with the radio to tell the guy with the sniper rifle on the roof in the hood.
With like a weird Imperial emblem on the hood too, which I thought was like the dumbest possible thing. Like
he's wearing a Imperial branded hoodie from Disneyland.
Get yours now at Galaxy's Edge. No, I like that specifically. There's even one more like removed chain there. Like she gets on the phone with Partigraz, who like gives her the go. She then thinks about it. She gives the guy in the cape a go. He gives the guy sitting next to him with the walkie-talkie a go. And then the sniper gets told to go. And it's like no one's making real decisions here. Like, this is like the real thing that like freaked me out about police as a kid, like watching like videos of police brutality and then, seeing it in person is like, in order to be like a fascist foot soldier, you have to like give up your ability to actually think for yourself. Like, you are just following what someone else has told you, or following like a rule set of like, when this thing happens, you have to do this, or else you're putting yourself or other cops in danger. And it's like you have to circumvent your own like free will like every step of the way. And that like really freaked me out. And this is like on display here. It's like no one is actually like making decisions. Like no one on Ghorman is making real decisions. They're just being told what to do and they're following orders. And that's like how fascism works. I'm just following orders.
And you have this sniper on the roof and he shoots not the Ghorman people. He shoots one of the riot cops.
One of the riot cops snipes him.
That guy goes down, and then the sergeant orders his cops they're not cops, they're soldiers, but they're cops, to open fire in reaction to this sniper thing.
And then the massacre starts.
Fucking dominoes.
And I think it actually is really important that these guys, like, effectively are not soldiers. Like, I think the fact that they're riot cops is really important. And this is something I loved about the first, like, Ferrick's, like, a riot. It would have been so easy just to have stormtroopers be doing everything. And, like, stormtroopers are on site, but I think it's very important that you see the faces of the like Imperial officers doing this stuff. Like the fact that it's like riot cops, not stormtroopers. Like stormtroopers, you get a photo op with at Disneyland. Stormtroopers are on backpacks. Stormtroopers are on lunchboxes.
Right, stormtroopers make funny sound as they fall over in Rebels.
Yeah, even though they are like literally like, stormtroopers, like, like Nazi stormtroopers, they have been so like commodified and commercialized that they are not like a real threat. And they're also like dehumanized. Like you never see people beneath the mask until, Force Awakens. The fact that it is not stormtroopers, it is like riot cops. That feels more real because when you're watching the show and you're a police officer and you see stormtroopers do stuff, you're like, yeah, that's fine. Stormtroopers are the bad guys. When you're a police officer and you watch the show and you see police officers doing fucked up stuff and people in like police riot gear, that's like, oh, I'm those guys. That's me. it's not necessarily formative, but it sticks in my mind is like during the 2020 protests in Portland when the federal government sent Bortak to invade the city for like a month. A very common occurrence when Bortak would march through the city is people would start playing the Imperial march on loudspeakers as they're like literally shooting people with like less lethal grenades. And it's like really stuck in my mind. And I hope it's stuck in the mind of all of those like Bortak guys who should not be able to watch Star Wars ever again without being reminded of who they actually are. And, you know, some of those Bortak guys like being stormtroopers, certainly, but not all of them. Some of these guys like want to think of themselves as the good guys. That needs to be taken away from them. Like, you know, when they show their kids Star Wars and their kids like the rebels,
the kids should be pointing at the stormtrooper and going, "That's daddy."
Yeah, again, it needs to start like breaking that division. You have to break the minds of these people. And like that's like a way to do it. So like no, it's super important, at least in my mind, that you see riot cops and not stormtroopers do a lot of like the crowd control in like the Andor riot scenes.
So you have this execution begin where these riot cops are opening fire on this crowd of almost entirely unarmed people. There are like 20 people there tops who have weapons. And you know, a firefight begins with those people, but for the most part, it's these riot cops. It's the stormtroopers coming down the stairs. It's the fucking IDF snipers taking out civilians.
Okay, can we talk about that? Like these stormtroopers just like walking down the stairs and just like getting gunned down one by one. Like great tactics, guys. I think I see why the rebellion won.
Average stormtrooper tactics.
They can't see. It's the fucking helmet. They cannot see. Do you know how hard it is to go down the stairs in one of those?
Fair.
Okay, well, I would simply have made a better helmet, but that's me.
They don't make decisions.
Plastoid armor.
Above their pay grade.
Okay, but why do you want your stormtroopers to be ineffective? That's my question. Emperor Palpatine, DM me.
Is scary.
I mean, it's the same reason why like TIE fighters don't have shields. Like they need to be like soulless and replaceable. And it is like a core part of the Empire expanding.
So it's bad. I think it's worth saying that the first guy to be shot of the Ghorman people is specifically the guy who is like hanging on the monument. This is the most dramatic guy to get shot in the whole protest. And yeah, then it's pandemonium. You have the bellhop guy telling people to run and chucking a grenade. You have the people from the Ghorman front, Enza's boyfriend. They are now throwing the Molotov cocktails. Willman is using the monument as cover.
No, like it basic like a war zone breaks out, but most of the casualties are just protesters who are unarmed trying to escape because they're the easiest ones to shoot.
Right, because who's gonna what are they gonna fucking do?
Some of the Ghorman front is able to like take cover and like return fire, but I mean this is the massacre playing out. This is what we've heard about for years in Star Wars TM.
And Cyril is standing in the middle of this because I guess he was just kind of standing in the crowd.
Oh boy.
With plot armor.
With an amazing trench coat. It's gorgeous. I'll say it. I'm brave enough.
Cyril is the only one of these imp guys who is dressed in like warm colors.
Dripped out.
Mother, you're dripping.
He had his cute little brown suit that he insisted on wearing even when it was kind of inappropriate. He comes to work today in this brown trench coat and he blends in with this crowd.
I mean, yeah, he's wearing Ghorman colors, and it's so good. I mean, like we see, you know, Cassian's is also in the crowd. He's trying to take aim at Dedra, and then Cyril sees Cassian aiming at his girlfriend and tackles him.
You have this moment where Cyril has to reckon with everything that even indirectly he is responsible for, everything that he has stood for, and then he turns his head. And I don't even know if he knows that Cassian is targeting Dedra. He just sees Cassian Andor, this guy.
Yeah.
Who ruined his life 3 years ago.
His nemesis.
And Cyril goes apeshit.
It's great because like Cyril was like so close to like almost like, you know, confronting this hollowness in him. And then he sees Cassian and he just can't help but revert to his childish self and undo any progress he was making, like psychologically as a person, to just get into a fight with Cassian, because Cassian is like the symbol of like the person who like ruined his life.
He almost learned how to do like introspection. He almost like did an ounce of self-reflection.
But no,
gone.
No, he's a man-child. Immediately reverts and starts like wrestling with Cassian, and they get into like a pretty like brutal brawl.
They're fighting in this fucking in the calf house. There, you happy? And
the bellhop throws a grenade. They get disoriented, and like Cyril's able to almost get like the upper hand on Cassian, and Cassian's on the ground in the hotel. Cyril's standing over top of him, and Cassian's like confused. Cassian asks, "Who are you?" shatters Cyril. Cassian's living rent-free in Cyril's head. Cassian doesn't even remember this guy. This is the only guy Cyril can think about for years, and Cassian can't even recognize him.
Brutal. The
tree remembers, the axe forgets, I guess.
It's so cool. Yeah, because Cyril's like a baby. Cyril has this like grudge, and Cassian has like, a real life and has other problems. But this has been like living in Cyril's mind forever. Man.
And then Kara Rylance shoots Cyril in the head, and Cyril goes down.
Fascist down. I can't believe I'm sad.
Rest in peace, Fail Son, who only got anywhere because of nepotism, essentially.
I can't believe I was sad to see Cyril go, because I just love watching him on screen, because he's just so pathetic. I just have so much fun.
He's a spectacle.
Yeah.
I genuinely think as a character, he is this guy who makes so much sense. He is so consistent within himself in all of these really quite terrible ways.
It's so cool that the last thing he experiences is Cassian asking him who he is. And like he gets a split second to realize, like, Cassian's never thought about me. Like, I've been obsessing over this guy who doesn't even know who I am anymore for years. And that's the last thing that goes through Cyril's mind before his brains get blown out. It's crazy.
And Cassian is genuinely confused. Willman shows up and kind of pulls Cassian away. And Cassian's looking back like, who the fuck was that guy?
Just this weird freak just tackles me. It's amazing. And now it is like exfil time. Now it is time to like get out of here at like any means necessary.
The Imperials are sending, the Greeny troops already did the damage. Now they can just kind of kill people how they want. They're sending out KX droids that are just as terrifying as they were last season. This KX droid is chucking guys. He kills Enza, which sucks.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it is a massacre. It is this like systematized execution of these people who are essentially in the way. Cassian and Willman are running away from one of the KX droids. Ghost Sam plows into one with a fucking, I don't even know what this vehicle is. It's like a backhoe almost. It's this big like shovel thing. Cuts this thing in two.
R.I.P. K2SO comic book.
Yeah, found dead in ditch, I guess. The thing about that is that I'm the only person who even kind of likes that comic, so it's not like that much of a loss. Oh, listeners, there's a comic book. It might have been an annual, I can't remember, but there's a one-shot comic book, Cassian and K2SO. Cassian goes to a planet, they infiltrate a thing, K2SO is there, K2SO is gonna fight Cassian, Cassian flips the switch and does a bunch of stuff. There's not that much there, for better or for worse. So, and now, I will say, I think, just my take, I think the K2 stuff is where the like format is really starting to show its weaknesses, because why did Andor take that guy? Why did he take the droid body?
For intelligence.
Exactly, because he is a good Luthen operative. The same reason he steals the TIE Avenger is because you have to get the Imperial equipment and learn from it. This is his entire operation in season 1 is trying to steal Imperial equipment and like sell it. This is specifically a Luthen tactic. And like, yeah, you are a student of Luthen. And like that's why he takes K2. It's a very like short moment where he's like, wait a minute, I should take this guy. I actually really enjoyed that, because it's like as much as people are getting pissed off at Luthen in this arc, you can still see the shadow of Luthen over all of their like operational practices. And you're like, yeah, even though Luthen's like a huge dick and super manipulative, he's not always wrong about how to like operate. And people like continue to realize that.
Okay, you've convinced me that K2 is not just taken along because he is in Rogue One, a Star Wars story. You are right. There is that kind of through line with Andor taking the Starpath unit on Steer Guard, you know, all the way up to him taking the TIE Avenger, him taking K2SO. I think you are probably right about that. That is like a deliberate decision.
Breaking up with Willem as Willem stays to like help survivors and find his girlfriend. I like the way they say goodbye to each other started to get me a little bit teary-eyed.
Ferrix. Stolen Sky.
Oh man, these are people who are living like a real life.
Like the chant, like frankly, probably like they would have done with Brasso.
Their friends are dying and they have to continue going on. This is the second big riot both of these people have been like at together. You know, the last time they were at a big riot like this, they helped each other escape. And now, you know, Willem's not a kid anymore. He has a French resistance girlfriend. He has other people in his life where he's like, you know, working as like an insurgent. And you're like, people are aging, people are dying, and you still continue on and you like hold on to like your past. You hold on to your like history with the people around you. And between that and then like the Ghorman cry for help, like this like final broadcast, I legitimately started like tearing up because like the political like situation just feels like so real.
No, I was ugly crying when they started fucking killing the gore in the streets. You have this radio plea for help from Drina, actually, the girl that
Willem's girlfriend, yeah.
Yeah. Who's basically saying we are being slaughtered. They built this fire and now we're on it. We are being destroyed. She says that there are hundreds dead in the square, that there are thousands more in the streets. And that's what it sounds like.
That's the political situation. And it happens here, it happens in our country, other countries, and
other countries.
We get closer and closer to this being the entire world. More people need to realize that and do things about it. One of the closing shots is this like wide shot of the Palmo skyline, and on like the left side you can see the Imperial like building standing like way above all of like the shops and everything, and like it looks so like unnatural. Like it's a completely different architectural style. It's this like imposition, like it's being imposed upon this like other culture, this like cold like militaristic steel on this like rich cultural like center. And it highlights just how like unnatural it is. Like it reminded me of Nemec, the Theory Twinks, like recollections of like how like unnatural authority is. Like it struggles to like make itself like present. That building was like a symbol of that.
Well, the through line of the Imperial narrative is the episode closes with Edie, Cyril's mom, on the couch, consoled by her friends, as Imperial news is talking about like honoring these like martyrs on Ghorman.
Talking about how there's quote unquote outside rebel assistance helping the Ghorman front.
And that this is the price that you have to pay. The martyrs, not the massacre.
This is the price we'll pay for our own safety. It's a devastating episode. Like it's expertly crafted, but like completely devastating. Like this entire arc is maybe the best arc in the whole show so far. The amount that they're like dialed in politically is amazing, and like it's so relevant to the current state of fascism around the world, whether that's in Palestine, whether that's in Asia, whether that's in Europe, and of course in the United States. Like it's dialed in exactly to like what this current situation is in the across the whole world, talking about and demonstrating what like the reality of what happens when you let empires like develop to this point.
The next episode opens and it's the night of the Ghorman Massacre. You know, you have Senator Iran, who is the senator from Ghorman, being dragged away from the Senate building for no reason.
By stormtroopers.
There's no reason to take this guy. What?
He screams, they had no warrant, there's no charges. I'm like, yeah, buddy, that's how it be. I mean, yeah, this is happening in this country right now. Like, no warrant, no charges. Off to El Salvador.
Like, genuinely, a few feet from Bail Organa, he's like, it's my people today and yours tomorrow. To everybody, not just to Bail. But Bail is actually in this episode, and he's really good. I wish he could have gotten like more setup as like in it. But
I'll read the book.
Well, you gotta watch Rebels, I guess.
yeah, you gotta watch Star Wars Rebels and just kind of reconcile the fact that he's on Yavin. I'm not clear about that.
No, I think he's on their ships. That's specifically like the bridge of like the Alderaan like cruisers.
Okay. I'll take your word for it as someone who reportedly watched Secret Cargo this morning.
I also watched it a few weeks ago doing my Rebels rewatch, and then I watched it again for some reason. I don't know why I do this to myself.
Rebels is a good show.
I am the world's biggest Rebels defender, Loki.
Good. It's a solid show.
It is for 10-year-olds, and it's a good show for 10-year-olds.
Sophie, we need to make you watch Rebels one of these days.
It's long, though.
Yeah, but it's like actually easy to get through on like the Clone Wars.
It is easier than the Clone Wars.
It's like half as long as the Clone Wars too.
Oh, well.
There's 4 seasons. Half those seasons are like only like 12 episodes in length, so it's not super long. I love me some Kanan Jarrus.
So this is happening in the Senate building directly in front of Bail and then Mon, who comes up, and Mon is essentially like, I have to say something in the Senate. Like, these are people who have talked about this, right? They're planning whatever, but Mon is like, I have to take this opportunity to do something.
This is it. Yeah, like
this is the moment to act. And Bail is like, I'm gonna stay put in the Senate for a bit, actually.
Yeah, I mean, like Mon specifically like wants to make this big final speech, and then exfil from Coruscant like with Bail, like both of them go to Yavin and start like running the alliance. And Bail doesn't want to leave yet. Like Bail thinks he needs to like buy time for Yavin to get further developed, to get it like more up and running. But like this is like it for Mon though. She's decided like this is the time where like there's no more use being in the Senate. Like I have to make one final Hail Mary, and then we're like changing gears.
Yeah, the Ghorman Massacre is like the giant fucking sledgehammer that finally breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But specifically the Mon Mothma camel. The Bail Organa camel can stay for a little bit longer.
I mean, yeah, and like that makes sense because like Leia is still a senator during like the opening of A New Hope. Mm-hmm. Bail like retires, but
Leia is junior senator from Alderaan. Meanwhile, while Mon is kind of plotting this, Clea is prepping Cassian, right? They know that Mon is probably going to do something after this point. Clea is making some stuff on her 3D printer, giving Cassian his cover. Ryan Guja is back.
That's right. We love to see it. We love to see a conflict journalist doing a real good job.
Conflict journalist right off of the Ghorman Massacre. He does not even get to sleep before being put on his next assignment, which does seem like how it is.
sometimes that's just how it works.
Clay is doing this, and Cassian is brooding. Cassian is traumatized. He had a bad time this morning, and he's kind of reflecting on all of it, and he says, I'm out. Like, after this, after I get this senator out, I am done with this.
Yeah, this is like his last job.
I'm off the force.
I'm done.
He's dealing with so much trauma and like burnout now.
And then Clea makes fun of him.
Can I guess? You're tired. It's too much. It's too hard.
Which on some level I really get. I think Clea, of all people in this story, Luthen can wax poetic all he wants about burning his life for a sunrise he'll never see. What did Clea give up? She doesn't even get a monologue. She is tireless and thankless and doing so much work and taking so much shit.
She's the real one holding this operation together.
Absolutely. I mean, technically the command structure is that she is Luthen's assistant or whatever, but she runs so much of this ship. Luthen's talking later in the episode and she's like, stay on task. We're getting Mothma.
I think they are like equals, honestly. Like I
definitely at this point.
They do different jobs, but I don't even view Luthen as like above her. In fact, I think Luthen at multiple points does like defer to some of her judgment. Like,
no, I think last episode, like he was less like on it than she was.
And like I also understand Cassian here. Like he is dealing with a lot of trauma and a lot of burnout. He is exhausted from always being a tool for someone else, and like this is stuff that like Bix had to deal with in the last arc, and only now is it catching up to Cassian. And like Cassian in the past has had this like, you know, like quitter's mentality before, where he's had like a hard time with commitment, and like now it's really pulling on him. At least he's gonna do this last job, but then he wants like a life. Like he wants something beyond just always like running away, hiding, doing insurgency.
So the job is get Mon Mothma out. She spends the night writing this speech. I like letting her have time to write it. People have to write speeches. That's how that shit works. It's normal. The least realistic thing is that she wrote it herself. You have her kind of having this tense thing with Erskine. He finds, Erskine is her aide. Erskine finds a listening device in the office. She immediately smashes the listening device with a paperweight, goes outside to practice the speech because, inside the office is not exactly safe. And walking up to her is Luthen Rail. Not like Luthen in the goofy wig and just dressed in like a black fucking like cloak and everything. Luthen on location in the flesh.
Regular Luthen, not like Luthen the character. The fake Luthen persona is like collapsed. Like it no longer has utility. It's now go time. Like he's not in the fancy clothes. He's not in the wig. It's like insurgent, like militant Luthen, like what we see on Ferrix.
Axis. He's there now.
Axis. Exactly. Yeah.
He leads with, I knew you were here because your aide works for me, which is a bad thing to lead with.
Yeah, he really had no reason to say that.
Yeah.
He just wanted to flex.
Yeah, exactly, Sophie.
Probably.
He's like, look at me, I'm so good. I can infiltrate my friends and my enemies.
Which is not what Mon needed. Mon needed to feel like she could rely on someone. And this is one of those things like that breaks Mon's world. She doesn't feel like she can trust Luthen. She didn't feel it after Take Holma, which she brings up here. She's like, you decided so quickly to just implied fucking ice that guy.
Completely the right decision.
Yeah, probably. Especially, God.
100%.
Take Holma. And she's, feeling broken up about that because of course she is. Because, frankly, as much as that was, to whatever degree that was the right call to make, Mon did not make that call even in the slightest. Maybe she should have been in on that decision-making process. I don't know. She has this interaction with Luthen where Luthen is saying, we got to get you out. I have this guy. I'd really, really trust him. You need this. You need to not fucking get got by the cops tomorrow. Bail Organa has a team for you, and they are corrupted. I have intelligence that suggests that you cannot trust them. And she's like, who fucking can I trust? Can I trust you? No.
I love his response, his quote, we've all been bent by secrecy. And this is like such a good line about how covert anarchist, militant stuff, like the way in which you need to like section off your life, the way in which you can't tell things to your friends, your family, your like loved ones, like the way that living this political life, it's devastating.
I mean, human lives are not built for that.
No.
Whether or not you have to do it, that doesn't mean it's, I guess, good for your, like, social well-being. So, Mon is at this point where she does not trust Luthen. She doesn't know what she's going to do tomorrow. She wants to rely on Bail, but she has this word that Bail's team can't be trusted. Luthen has said, I know this guy personally, and she goes and she fires Erskine. But feels horrible, I'm sure, and Mon is so alone in this moment. I think one of the things that I wish this episode had, I think it is such like a tight package in this show, but I wish that it had anything from Mon's family, anything from Perrin or from Lita to like make it really clear what Mon is giving up, because that is a choice that she has made, and she made it almost without thinking, the point that she's at, which doesn't surprise me because Perrin's an asshole and Lita is married, so whatever. The next morning, the senatorial session is called early so that, you have as few people as possible show up. Bail's team is moving into position. The morning agenda is set. It is packed. There's no room for anyone to talk. Mon Mothma is wearing pants.
It's because she knows she's got to go.
Cassian and Clea are waiting nearby. Luthen comes to join them. Again, Luthen. Just Luthen. Blonde-ass Luthen is kind of talking Cassian into it. Cassian is like, yeah, speak for yourself. We don't all want to die doing this.
Speak for yourself, motherfucker!
Luthen says they'll hang us both eventually. And Luthen essentially expresses kind of what Bix does earlier on. He says that there's something special about Cassian. Cassian is in this and he is doing a good job. And there is like a little bit of this air of like a destiny thing too, but it's sort of unspoken. It's uncertain. It's very tasteful.
This interaction Luthen talks about like he's not going to Yavin. That's not happening. Yavin is not Luthen's deal. That's not what he's going to be like participating in. There's this real like break point for the entirety of like what the rebellion's been at this point, between like the intelligence gathering and then like the formation of these like different cells and like militant groups. And now you have like this guy that played such a big role in like the early formation getting like iced out of this thing that he spent years building, and not even fully like iced out, just like he doesn't want to like be a part of what it's going to turn into necessarily. He was more interested in like setting things up to this point and then, continuing to act as an individual like intelligence operative for, however long until he dies, probably in the next arc of episodes.
Later on at the safe house, Clea talks about some stuff. Luthen's just gone. Luthen's somewhere doing whatever Luthen does. He makes it.
He doesn't need to be there anymore.
Yeah, he's fully out of this arc. He's not going to Yavin. It's a very interesting position that Luthen has kind of found himself in. I think very different than a lot of people expected. I prefer it to just simply killing him off. I think it's much more complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I think he is dying next episode. Absolutely.
Probably.
A house of cards as big as the one Luthen has built eventually will collapse. Like, eventually, Imperial intelligence is going to catch up with you. You cannot outsmart the feds forever. ISB, I think, is going to snag Luthen. Next episode or like the next arc. Like I think it eventually, in order to have Andor be this whole story of like how insurgencies are built, we need to have things break bad for someone like Luthen. Like we need to see like with the networks and like how far he's like spread himself around the galaxy. Like eventually I think ISB is going to catch up, is going to catch up to Axis. Luthen might even like know that, and that's why he's not going to Yavin. Like he's not making himself close to those other groups. Like he is building distance because I think he might even have some awareness that like his days are kind of numbered. They're going to hang us both.
Well, speaking of the House of Cards, you have Bale's team, who Mon asks about, and Bale says, no, I can't know them. I can't personally know them. There is this interesting like juxtaposition between Luthen, who has sent his best guy.
Trusted guy.
His best bud, Cassian Andor, back on the Force for one more mission, and Bail Organa, who is, of course, a senator and can't be buds with Cassian, Jaren, Andor.
As soon as I saw Bale's crew, the first thing I thought, and I wrote down in my notes, is Bale's like woman operative has a real ISB look. she has that ISB jaw.
She does look like a cop, and the other two look just like incredibly inexperienced.
They could have hired anybody else for this job.
Like, you knew from the second you see them, like, oh, they're so compromised. They're the most compromised anyone has ever been.
Well, the chain of information is this lady apparently works for Lonnie.
Oh my God.
Who is Luthen's plant in the ISB. And that's why Mon knows.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good.
It is.
God, that rules.
As soon as they're like, yeah, the ISB people, they saw that Mon's listening device went down. They got word from her driver, who is also an ISB plant, that she didn't go home. She was just at the Senate building overnight. And you have this like mess in the ISB. And then they're like, oh yeah, Lonnie's agent's on it. And you as the viewer are like, oh, it's Young's agent. Smart as hell.
I feel bad for Lonnie because he's going to be like, oh shit, well, I may have sort of accidentally almost captured Mon Mothma.
No, I mean, he knew, and he wasn't going to blow his cover.
Oh.
Well, and like, he's the one that told Luthen about the person inside of Bale's team. Like, this is Luthen's intelligence agency, like, working correctly. And yeah, like, it sucks for Lonnie. Like, he's like doing one of the hardest jobs ever. But no, like, this is like Luthen's whole like strategy, like working as intended.
So Cassian, Ryan Guja, gets in. Ryan Guja is on the scene, reporting live from the Senate building. And I will say, I really liked this press access bullshit. All of the like press area with the TV screens and all of that, the lounge.
Agreed. As someone who was in the RNC and the DNC press access area, feels pretty much like that.
You were Ryan Guja.
No, I would never do crimes. I would never abuse my position as a conflict journalist to do semi-sketchy things. Absolutely not.
The senatorial session begins. It is full of these senators talking about the brave martyrs on Ghorman.
Sort of like fellating themselves with the brave martyrs of Ghorman. Like
talking about the ways that the Ghormans, stirred things up. The only surprising thing about what happened was just how like aggressive they were or whatever. And I'm going to soapbox for a moment. One of the things that I think really got me brackets negative about this season was something I was hoping for. As soon as it started to kind of sound like they might do Ghorman stuff in more Andor, I was hoping that Ghorman would be different than it is. I guess Ghorman is this very European, it's a white people.
Yeah, it's Space France, yeah.
Nous allons dans un planète on Star Wars.
Done a planet on Star Wars. I think there are things that are really fun about that in the setting, but also Andor's indigenous people in the previous season were mostly white people. I think Andor has this thing where it has like black and brown people and then disposes of them. See Cinta, see others. And I don't know, I thought it would be really interesting to have Ghorman as, at the very least, non-white. I thought that would be really powerful. I thought that would be really evocative.
You even could have kept like the French bullshit. Like they could have just been like Algerian.
But what I will say, as much as I think that this, especially this season, is lacking in on-screen diversity, in color, in race, as far as the narrative goes, it makes sense for them to be, at the very least, if not white, then certainly human. In Star Wars, especially in Star Wars canon, there is this sometimes clumsy, sometimes well done racial allegory through the non-human people in Star Wars, through the aliens.
Yeah.
Sometimes this is really problematic and super fucked up, and sometimes Star Wars does it in interesting ways, and it's usually the first thing. And here, galactic geography lesson. So I guess it's like astrography, but the Star Wars galaxy, as like a galactic map, is laid out around this bright mass of stars and a supermassive black hole in the center. And the further you go out from this core, the kind of less populated things get. So on the very edge is wild space, then you move in and it's the outer rim. Moving in, it's the mid rim, the expansion region, inner rim, colonies, and then the core. And galactic maps are kind of drawn from like this top-down perspective on the discal spiral galaxy. So you have these rims in concentric circles, you have hut space on the right, and then you kind of corporate sector up on the kind of above that. And then, big chunk on the left is the unknown region. And this map is itself divided into a grid, which is lettered and numbered kind of like a chessboard. The core worlds, the things that are at the center of this galaxy, tend to be the ones considered most rich. They are literally centered in galactic politics and media. Corellia, Skako, Hosnian Prime, Chandrilla. This is also kind of determined by a planet's proximity to important hyperspace trade routes. So Coruscant is right near the galactic core, and it is at the junction of several different super hyper routes. So its grid space is L9. Ghorman, as a planet, is directly on the other side of the galactic core. It is on the Rima trade route at grid square L13. And, it's a bit more insular. There's a reason why it is so homogenous, I guess. But this is a hop, skip, and a literal jump away from Coruscant. Ghorman is not going to encapsulate the sorts of genocides that the Empire commits, the sorts of genocides that empires commit. The Empire occupied and depersonalized people on Kashyyyk 19 years before A New Hope. They destroy the Kalinoans around the same time. There is the fucking campaign against the people on Mimban in 10 BBY. The extermination of the Dezenites? The Dezenites in 8 BBY. There's the Siege of Lasan in 7. And the fact is that Ghorman is an anomaly, sort of. It's not just the Empire going after humans. It's not just the Empire going after the population of a well-known source of luxury goods. It's not just the Empire going after a core world, but it is all of these things and more. It had to be rich humans for their suffering to be loud enough for anyone to care, for anyone in the galaxy to be watching at all. You know, the galaxy wasn't watching when the Dani were displaced. It's not a coincidence that the Galactic Civil War is really kicked off when things like this start to happen, when Alderaan is wiped off the map. There's a reason that the Alliance itself, within the narrative, you know, whether or not this is an idea in A New Hope, this is retconned in, there's a reason that the Alliance is heavily dominated by humans, and it is because these are the ones who are mobile enough to escape and fight back. Right, other people are stuck fighting for their homeworlds. I'm gonna quote from Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire. It is apparently my Bible when we are watching Andor. And my main kind of takeaway is that I think what Ghorman is in this setting makes a lot of sense. I wish that kind of the rest of Andor was a little more dedicated to showing that juxtaposition. There's this unspoken thing going on. Maybe the show could have like racialized the Ghormans more. I don't mean like make them white, but make it like grosser in Imperial news. It would be cartoonishly evil, but this shit is cartoonishly evil.
This is something that I think Luthen remarks upon like earlier, like he wants them to get into fights with the Empire. Like he wants like this like accelerationist push with Ghorman, specifically because they are like an upper class planet with status and a degree of like, you know, like sway. They'll
burn brightly.
I think like honestly, like that is like part of what they're doing by making them very European, is trying to demonstrate to the audience like the Empire can genocide a lot of people and no one cares. People will only start caring when it's like happening to white people. And I think that's what the show is trying to play with. It does bump into like the weird like racialized politics of Star Wars, where like the aliens and speciesism is a stand-in for like actual like racism. But this is still something like Star Wars has like played with a lot before, and like they do successfully, I think, with like how much of the Empire and like how much of the ISB is all like white guys, right? Because like that's trying to tell something to us, the audience. And it's hard because like you're trying to exist within this like space culture that you've developed, while also trying to make it legible to like Americans like watching in, you know, planet Earth. It has to like play into like human culture as well. It is a balance they're trying to strike. So, like I can understand why it's so European. And like they're trying to communicate something with that. You know, you can think about like how people are okay with what's happening in Palestine, but they can still be mad about what's happening in Ukraine because Ukraine is whiter. So I think that's kind of the language that Andor is trying to use here. It took the Empire doing something to a planet like Space France in order for people to start really like paying attention, and even in order for like Mon to be like, all right, this is it. This is where I'm calling it.
Right. This is where it is like tactically viable to defect.
Yeah, I mean, and even like, you know, how much of this is even like a last step for Mon being like, even Mon's own like willingness is getting pushed here. That maybe wouldn't have happened if this was, you know, on like Duro, right? Those blue guys had it coming.
I do think that is what this show is doing, but I think that if you don't have that juxtaposition, this show does a lot of things very subtly. It does other things not so subtly. It says a lot of things very explicitly, and I think this is one of the things it should. If it's not going to, then it should have.
Totally, yeah.
And I don't know, Andor is a very white show. I find it really experientially complicated.
I mean, I think it is also worth mentioning, like Cassian's not white.
But he's kind of the exception in the core cast at this point.
I guess. I mean, it is certainly like his show. Like it is called Andor. But yeah, I mean this has been a problem with Star Wars going all the way back to A New Hope, where there is 0 people of color.
They have one Asian person in the original trilogy, and it's that fucking A-Wing pilot.
Well, and especially if you have like Bix as another character, maybe taking like a back seat going forward.
I will tell you, whether or not this is necessary for the world, I've done it anyway. I have begun a spreadsheet of Andor characters and whether or not they die. I'm basically doing like demographic readings of Andor.
Okay.
Because I got so frustrated having conversations with people about Andor last week about Andor killing its non-white characters.
Sure. I mean, like, basically, like, the lesbians and Andor are the only ones to survive Aldhani. Like, everyone else eventually gets got there. But I think, yeah, definitely, like, yeah, I know it's definitely something to bring up.
And I feel like Ghorman is especially weird for that, where you're hearing this French lady saying, I mean, what we've all heard out of Palestine for the last 2 years, which is they're slaughtering us. And I get that that's how you kind of make people listen, but it is jarring, I guess.
I will say, if Ghorman was less white, that would definitely not help your demographic stats.
Well, yeah, they wouldn't get, they would die, but at least they would have screen time. That's also part of it. And there were survivors. Lazine made it out somewhat, a little bit. Drina made it out.
Well, yeah, and I think the comparison with Palestine, I think, invites itself, especially during like Mon's speech, where she just like does what almost no senator is brave enough to do, and just calls something that's genocide, to the widespread boos of the Senate chamber.
Semantic arguments, I think, are a real failing point for a lot. People really get into discussing what a thing is, what it means, talking about the words used for a thing. That is a big part of like political discourse, and even sometimes takes the place of political action. I will say, maybe it's just the last couple of years wearing on me, but I think it's pretty important when people call something genocide after people are not calling it genocide. I think there are a lot of things that are genocidal and have been genocidal that people writing about it have been unwilling to call genocidal in ways that they really should.
What happened yesterday on Ghorman was unprovoked genocide. Yes, genocide. And that truth has been exiled from this chamber.
I mean, this comes right after, not to get too political on the Star Wars politics show, but the Israel Security Council is approving a plan to like reoccupy semi-permanently like all of the Gaza Strip. Exactly what we just saw depicted on Ghorman. I mean, worse, but like in terms of like reoccupying, it's like the military presence on Ghorman intensify and like basically having to relocate 800,000 Ghormans and kill the rest. I mean, this is happening like right now in the world, where they're planning to relocate upwards of 2 million Palestinians or kill the rest.
On a larger scale than the galactic conflict.
Yeah, the populations of Star Wars planets are always a little bit iffy. The fact that each planet basically has one city, always a little bit iffy.
Coruscant is basically empty. It's fine. Numbers in Star Wars are always a little bit off. It's fine.
Yeah.
And Mon gives her speech. I wasn't so hot about it the first time around, but I came around on it. She talks about like the distance between like truth and fiction, and that didn't really resonate with me too much the first time around. But the second time around, I was like, oh, they've been doing this like news media thing the whole time.
Yeah, it's about how the Empire is able to control like reality on like a core level. They can like manipulate what is and isn't real on like this almost magical basis. Like the distance between what is said and what is known to be true has become an abyss.
An abyss. I don't know. There are ways in which this speech is very much like, it is for her audience. It is couched in the Imperial norms and all of that. She gets to speak because
there's this procedural bullshit that I quite enjoyed.
Bail is roped in by another senator, and then Bail evokes like Article 17252 from the most recent Imperial ruling on Senate protocol.
Great nerdy rules shit. Yeah, that's really important a lot of the time.
And she goes on TV and she says the word. And immediately, as soon as Mon Mothma's talking, You have all these little guys, especially the like media guy, the media coordinator person in the Senate, is like trying to shut down the feed.
Well, and ISB is like telling them to, and then there's a whole bunch of sort of comedy of errors, delays that result in her entire speech being heard.
You have the bureaucracy that Bale is weaponizing against like the Senate to let Mon talk. You have these guys, like basically these like maintenance or tech guys. The media dude goes to a door and he's like, why is this locked? And they're like, it's supposed to be locked. It's never locked normally. Well, we locked it yesterday. Like all of this stuff where it's like, here is the protocol. People are following it. And they're getting tied up in their own web a little bit for just this moment. It doesn't last, but like, damn. I do want to say there's a version of this speech that is in Star Wars Rebels. This is a different speech. It's just a different speech.
Yeah.
I'm not that broken up about it. I was texting Alex from Star Wars Explained about this. He thinks it's just kind of like a different interpretation. I think my hot take is that I think it is a different speech. I think that judging by what they say in Rebels, they just describe her speech being on the HoloNet. It doesn't have to be the one she gave in the Senate.
I think it's okay if the canon gets a little bit flexible. I'm not too worried about it. I think there may have been a possibility where what we see on screen on Andor is not the full speech that Mon Mothma spent all night writing. So like, yeah, I'm really not too concerned. I do like her lines of all the things at risk. The loss of an objective reality is perhaps the most dangerous. We become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever monster screams the loudest. And, you know, some of this is a little bit hashtag resistance, hashtag Orange Man bad, but it's important to remember the Orange Man is indeed bad.
It is crucial. Maybe don't forget that one.
And yeah, this is something that we're seeing happen right now is like, literally One America News just got appointed as state-controlled media overseas. Like, no, this is like happening. The ability that the right's been able to shape reality around their ideology the past 10 years is astonishing. And they are essentially doing like reality magic, intentionally so. This is what like their propagandists are like doing on purpose. This is how they can create these like fake panics, whether it's, you know, groomers, whether it's this fake migrant crime wave, which isn't real. Like they are able to shape reality as they see fit. And that's what they've like succeeded in doing. And this is what this speech is about.
Right. Just like constantly creating consent for more and more control, more and more harm being done to disparate groups. The genuine shifting of the discursive window around things like the southern border or fucking Palestine.
And the quote-unquote opposition party has either ceded ground to this or been actively complicit in helping them do this project.
It would be cool if the resist-lib senator was as committed to opposing the fascist things happening as to fund an active insurgency. Like
getting a lot of Nancy Pelosi vibes from Mon Mothma. Unbelievable. Quit your job.
I think that is the main thing people miss about Mon, is that Mon is a true believer in the rebellion.
Yeah. No, she is like down and has been, you know, having to do a very hard job the past few years, but she knows when to call it. And yeah, it's time to call it. And oh boy, is her escape exhilarating.
Yeah. So immediately she leaves the like senatorial room and Cassian is right there. He is ready. He leads with, I was at the Ghorman Massacre.
The journalist.
Yes, journalist Ryan Guja.
It's great because she starts by being like, I can't comment. I have to go. And he's like, no.
Dude, I have friends everywhere.
Yes, like
specifically, your cousin is my bud. We live on the same like base.
We've done jobs together. It's very good that initially she buys Cassian's cover as like a journalist asking for comment. And he's like, you have to follow me right now. We have to get you out.
This is what you were talking about earlier, isn't it? With the bellhop guy, Luthen could not have gotten Mon to come.
No.
Cassian did by like leveling with her, being like, this is who I am. This is why you can trust me.
He's a people person.
It's good that someone told him that she's Vel's cousin. That was probably Clea.
No, it shows how good Cassian is as like a human operative. He's able to like relate to people and like understand them and like grow connections and like gain trust in a way that Luthen's really never able to do. Luthen's able to make connections, but Luthen has a real hard time with trust.
When you have this very tense people are exiting a big building sequence, which I think is really quite well executed for how little happens. There is this very dramatic scene where Cassian and Mon are kind of moving toward the exit, and they are accosted by Bale's team. Well, two of Bale's team. One of Bale's team was shot after they kind of found out that the cop face lady was actually a cop. Who would have thought? This lady pulls out a gun.
Bam! Fucking dead immediately.
Luthen's strongest soldiers gunned down undercover ISB agent.
Which I think is appropriate.
They're so good.
Yeah, Erskine's on it, Cassian's on it. They kill this guy. The building's on lockdown, but it doesn't matter.
And there's a certain point when the building's being locked down that Mon Mothma realizes, actually, no, we have to turn around and go a different way. And she starts like running.
Right. They're not going to meet whoever was going to drive them away.
No.
Mon makes that call and Cassian immediately adapts. It's very good.
And this is the moment when like Mon Mothma like starts like running through the Senate. Like before they're trying to like walk and be chill, and then she like takes initiative and starts going.
She's wearing pants now.
She's wearing pants. And they meet up with their driver, the ISB agent.
Yeah, Chloris. Chloris matters.
Fucking Chloris. I fucking hate Chloris.
Chloris has shown up so many times in this arc compared to in the past, where he just keeps radioing to ISB to be like, is this okay? Do you need me to do anything? And finally, he's like, I'm gonna go in there and investigate. He sees Mon and Cassian running on this bridge.
I love Cassian. Cassian calls out. He's like, Cassian asks Mon what his name is, and he's like, Chloris, we found her. He's trying to pretend to be like an ISB agent to buy like a split second.
Right.
Mon has to tell him that he's an ISB agent.
Yeah.
Like this goes down perfectly. That's my driver. Like, will he help? No, he's a plant. And then Cassian is like, what's his name? I'm gonna juke this guy.
Again, another moment where Cassian uses his like social engineering and his ability to like connect with people to his advantage. Not everyone's gonna ask for his name to get his attention, to like snap him out of like whatever, you know, like maybe at this point like Chloris would just like, you know, start shooting or something. Like Cassian's able to like gain intel like on the ground to like call his attention in a way that's like distracting and like confusing, to buy him enough time to just like ice this guy. And again, like this is something that I think only Cassian would be able to like do in this moment.
And Mon's reaction, I mean, Chloris is this guy who has been an ISB agent the whole time, and she has known that. Mon's first introduction into this show is her saying, my driver's ISB. But she's also worked with this guy for years, and Cassian guns him down, and her face, just the way this is played by O'Reilly, the actress, is just really incredible. Like, she's entering into Cassian's world, and Cassian's world is highly traumatic.
Yeah, and this is like the second person she's seen die, and this is the first person she's like known, like seen die. Like she like knows who this person is, has like a pre-existing connection, and yeah, the first time she's confronted with like watching someone you know get killed.
And she's chosen this. Like, this was her choice to transition from this senatorial role to kind of joining this military group. But it doesn't mean it's not like there aren't growing pains, right? No, it's very real, I guess. So you have kind of this long denouement where Cassian takes Mon to the safe house where he and Bix used to live. Mon is there now, and Clea is already there. Willman is off in the bedroom with Drina, which is really, really nice. I don't know why Willman came back to Coruscant, but he came back to Coruscant. Everybody's safe. It's really nice. Luthen is gone. He got away. That's what Clea says. And the plan is to send Mon Mothma off with whomever.
Gold Squadron.
Brackets Star Wars Rebels. While Cassian takes Willman home to a doctor. Willman's leg is very badly hurt. And so I assume the game of pinball goes like Mon Mothma goes from the Senate to Cassian. Cassian takes her to the safe house. And from the safe house...
first goes to Gold Squadron, then the Phoenix Squadron.
She's taken to the Ghost Crew with Gold Squadron from Masasi Group.
And then to Dantooine, and then back to Yavin.
And because once Cassian gets to Yavin, Draven says their Gold Squadron is bringing her here.
Very funny.
And Cassian is done. He has this really nice conversation. It's very short, where Mon can tell that he's comfortable in the safe house, and he says that he lived there before, and you can tell that she knows who this guy is. Not Cassian Andor, but this is this guy's life. And he saved her life, and she asks how she can make it up to him. And he says that she can make it worth it. And that's very much like what Cassian says in Rogue One, which is like one of the reasons like the Scarif infiltration is important is because it makes all of the supposedly terrible and miserable things that Cassian has done for the rebellion, it makes it worth it. And that's what he asks from Mon there. And Cassian goes back. He tells Draven that there's a K2SO droid, not K2SO, that there's a KX droid in the U-Wing. I'm going to talk about this right now because I don't want to end on K2. The closing scene is, well, the like droid tech guy rebooting K2SO from Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. It's very cute. Interesting emotional whiplash away from the previous scene, but it's a really cool little technical scene where the droid guy is talking about like, no, you just got to like wire it up really good. It's not just, you don't just like type away at the computer. K2 is taken care of. He'll be in the next arc. They said like 5 years ago that they would make a Cassian Andor show with Cassian Andor and K2SO, and K2 will be in 3 episodes.
It's so funny. Oh man, that rules.
I'm glad he's in the show now. Who knows what that'll do to the tone, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Cassian goes home. He goes to the bungalow, and he tells Bix that he's done. And he's expressing essentially what he told to Clea, that he wants to be done, that he wants to make his own choices. Clea's response was, isn't that why we're fighting, so that we can make our own choices? And Bix doesn't respond. He's like, why haven't you said anything? And she's like, I'm listening to you. And it's because she has this, she feels like she has this responsibility because he has this responsibility. Cassian talks about he wants to go. He wants to have a life with Bix. He wants to go somewhere quiet. But, kind of the point with all the Marva stuff in season 1 is that that's not really an option. You can only keep your head down for so long. As much as Marva wanted Cassian to have that, it wasn't something Cassian could have. He got arrested on the beach planet. And Bix has really internalized Marva's message, right? I think she makes this call knowing that. And they go to bed, and Cassian wakes up the next morning, and Bix is gone. And she's left a message where she says that she believes that what they're doing is important, that what Cassian is doing is important. She believes in the rebellion way too much to be the reason that Cassian quits.
So I'm choosing for the both of us. I'm choosing the rebellion.
And so she goes off planet, and that's that. She's not going to be the reason he makes that decision. And I will say that it is kind of she makes the decision so that he can do the stuff that's important. He's the cool guy who does the important stuff. I think writing out the woman of color so that the big guy, cool guy can do the cool guy stuff is a choice. But I told everyone that there were more interesting things you could do with Bix than kill her. And this is absolutely one of them.
Yeah, and I think there's a chance that she comes back for the last arc. And I think importantly, it's not her leaving the rebellion.
No. She leaves Cassian.
Yeah, she's like transferring to like another base to make sure that Cassian doesn't like give up on this thing that they both know is like really important, like for this relationship. So, like instead, it's her breaking up with Cassian, at least for now, in order to like continue the fight.
And I think an easy fix that could have made it more tasteful was just having her specifically choose the rebellion, her work in the rebellion. God, I wish this show had been written by a woman sometimes. Anyway, just my regular complaining about that from Andor. But no, I think this is a really cool decision, all things considered. She says that the point is to win. The point is to beat them. She said, real juicy line, when this is all done, I will come and find you. Which, not to drive in the point too hard, but so many people were like, oh no, it's gonna be so dramatic when all the people from Ferrix are dead. They all die in the first arc of season 2, and that's why Andor's lost everything. No, the juicy, tragic thing is if, hopefully Wilman, but if Wilman and Bix survive, and Cassian doesn't. It's a lesson from the School of Lesbian Hard Knocks. It's continuing without is the real tragedy. And I appreciate that Andor is embracing that. it's good. I like it. I like the idea of Cassian and Bix both kind of giving that up. Cassian forced to, but Bix elective. Like, Bix knows that Cassian has this destiny, or she believes it. And then Cassian does do this crazy thing that she was right to leave him for. And then he dies. It's very juicy. I think I've got my hangups. I've got my criticisms. All of the things I bitched about last week are still true, but I feel satisfied by this arc in a way I didn't from the last two, and I'm okay now. I can be normal about Andor again. Yay.
No, I would love to see more stuff from Bix. Like, we certainly get a lot from, like, Mon Mothma and from Val. I think Bix definitely is kind of the most, like, short change, where she really just becomes like a punching bag for trauma throughout a lot of this show, and I would love to see more of, like, what she gets up to in the rebellion. So hopefully next episodes or at some point in the future, I think she is a really compelling character, and, like, her commitment to, like, staying in even through hardship and, like, working through her own trauma to actually, like, stay in the fight. Like, and, like, she's known Luthen longer than Cassian has.
Yes, she has.
Like, she's been, like, involved in this even longer than him. So I would really like to have the capacity to focus on her more as like an independent actor.
Well, and I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna put it right here. I'm gonna plant my flag in the ground. We'll see if I'm right. I'm probably wrong. Andor, if you want to be more interesting than ending, I know they've said it. I know what they've said. But if you want to be more interesting than ending on the fucking Cassian goes to the shuttle to Kafrene to meet Tivik in Rogue One, no. End with Bix. And with Bix after. Or something. That's more interesting. Fuck it. They're basically married. She's Andor now. Andor season 1 wasn't just Cassian. It was also Marva. Now it's Bix. Bix is Andor.
It would be cool to do a little bit of like what like Rebels does, having like a little bit of an epilogue, like after the Battle of Yavin or like after the Battle of Endor, and seeing like which characters are still around, like what they've done. That would be a cool little like epilogue touch.
They do one of those things where it's like black and white pictures of the characters and white text saying what became of them.
Oh, that'd be rad. That'd be rad.
No, I think...
Dedra Mirren in a Republic re-education camp.
Vel left the rebellion for her solo music career. She has yet to write a hit or some shit.
Luthen the White trades in his blaster for a staff.
I do think like a denouement like that would be one of the best things for Andor, because as much as it is like a Rogue One prequel, I think Andor is a lot bigger than that. And I don't want it to reduce itself that much. I think it deserves to be like its own entity and to have a conclusion that is not just go watch Rogue One now on Disney Plus, I think would be the right thing. But hey, I'm not in charge. I don't make those calls. That's some other guy. All right.
Yeah, that's Star Wars. There's definitely wars and stars.
Gare, where can people find you and your work?
Well, if you want to hear about what's happening in this galaxy, you can follow my work, which covers extremist politics, usually on, right-wing extremism, although also, quote-unquote, left-wing extremism, I guess. Protest movements around the country, eco-defense movements. I'm writing my final piece about Cop City right now, and that can be found on the show It Could Happen Here, and some of the writing will go up on Shatter Zone. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter, where I'll post updates at Hungry Bowtie.
If you have any questions, suggestions, or corrections, you can send them to our show email, daughtersferrix@gmail.com.
If you want to listen to new episodes as they release, you can find us on most places you can listen to podcasts. You can find sources for this episode on our website, daughtersofferrix.com, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at FerrixPod, FERRIXPOD.
Thank you to our comrades, Joel Miranda, Emerson Arrayes, and GirlFag22 for making this episode possible. If you want to support the show, visit patreon.com/daughtersofferrix. I have been Eleanor Mueller. You can find me at The Letter Bomber on most platforms. Sophie, what about you?
I have been Sophia Dunstan. You can find me on Blue Sky these days because of Woke, at the Red Line Pod, where we talk about trains, and at Episcopal, where we talk about religion.
This episode was edited by me, Eleanor Mueller. Our background music is by Louis Zong. Our intro was arranged by me, with theme by Nicholas Bertel. Thanks for listening. And bring Bix back. Make it a good show. Make it a good show.